Hello everyone, you're welcome to the part 2 of our Offshoulder tutorial. So here's the sleeve I fused with paper stay and the bodies of the main fabric with hair stay, both front and back bodies. The lining also the same with paper stay. So here I am trying to fix wording to the front bodies and I forgot to notch it. So I'm going to be using the pattern paper to mark the part where I want the wording to begin or end per se. So it's going to be under the bust. So here I'm marking the under bust. Also note that before you iron the wording to the fabric, definitely you have to remove the pins. So this is the side front. I'm also going to mark the under bust. So I'm going to cut two pieces for the side front. So the next thing now is to use the iron to fuse it. It is already done, and then I pin it back again because of the net lace. So what we'll be doing next is to stitch these two together. You begin from the lower part here, moving upward by 1/2 inch that we marked out for. The same thing also we'll do to this part. Now this is the back. We're going to temporarily stitch the zip area or the zipper area by 1 inch seam allowance that we marked it out for. So we're also going to, this is the side back. We'll also stitch it together to the side, to the center back from the lower part, also moving upward. Make sure you don't have puff at the back. The same thing we'll be doing to the lining. Everything we do to the main fabric we'll do to the lining. So here it's already been stitched. This is the side front, center front and the side front. And then we're going to be notching it because you know it's a curve. So you have to notch every curve that you sew. So here is how it's looking. After notching it to definitely pop out. The stitching is done of both the side fronts, the center fronts, and the side back and the center back. So the next thing to do is to trim this excess fabric on the armhole side. So now we're going to be stitching the side with our measurements, the bust measurements, waist and hip measurements. So we'll close the sides of this blouse. We're going to be doing the same thing to the lining, but first we also need to trim the excess fabric around the armpit area or the armhole area. This is the extension that we did earlier while we were cutting our pattern. You know, we added some fabric around that part. So here also we'll be stitching the sides. So it's all done. The sides have been stitched, and I've also gone ahead to fix a zipper. So next is to fix the lining, and this is how we're going to be doing it. Right side of the lining facing the right side of the fabric, and this is the neck area. So we'll pin it. Of course, you're not going to pin the armhole or the armpit area because you won't be stitching that now. So we're going to sew along this part, and this part. Now the lower part also, you make sure that every seam matches. The dart seam, the side seam, make sure they all match. Pin it if you want. And then we're going to stitch along this side. Now the sleeve also, this line part, this fused part is the main side, and then this part that is not fused is the lining. So we're going to stitch along this upper part and the lower part. This is going to be for both sleeves. Now I've gone ahead to stitch the neck area and even notch it, because like I said earlier, whatever that is curved you need to notch. So here we're going to move the seam allowance to the lining side and we'll give it a stitch at the top. Stitching at the top helps the neck to lay properly, meaning the lining will not be sticking out when you wear your garments. So this is what I'm talking about exactly. We'll be doing that to this part, to every part of the neck area as well. So next I'll be trimming the excess of this seam allowance, so the right side will not be bulky. I'm sorry about the sound, there's a construction going on around here. And also trim carefully so you don't trim into the stitch. Okay, this is the hemline all stitched. Now this is the zipper side. We're going to sew the lining to the main fabric along the side all the way to the hemline, and this is how the hemline is going to fold, and we stitch on it as well. So it is all done. I'm also going to trim this part because I don't want that part to be bulky as well. So I'm going to turn it to the right side so you see how it's looking. So as you can see, the main fabric is overlapping on the lining. This is what I was going for when I trimmed the allowance from the lining. Now we'll do this other part. We stitch this other part, I mean. It's all done, and see how the inside is looking. So the next thing to do now is to work on the sleeves, attach the ruffles, and then we fix the sleeves on the blouse. So here is the sleeve. We've gone ahead to sew the lining on it and then gave it a top stitch both up and down, and mark out some lines where the ruffles will be fixed. And also I drew my side seam allowance. Now this is 1 inch apart, and I also went ahead to hem the sides of this ruffle. Here I'm trying to get the mid point or mid part of it, and it's going to be on this drawn outline. So what I'm trying to do here is to mark out the armhole allowance 0.5 inches, but 0.5 inch, sorry, but I'm marking out 3/4 of an inch. The same thing I did here, 3/4. So here's the ruffle, and I also hem this part, fold into 2 so we can get the midpoint. That midpoint is going to be on this drawn out line, and we're going to stitch along this part. So here's what you do when you get to this end part. We cut the remaining parts out and then hem that, and then we hem this part. And stitch it. So we lock the stitch on it. So we're going to continue the same pattern in the same pattern on the second line. And if you're short, all you have to do is just to add the organza. So here I've gone, I did a lot, but I noticed something. This is just too packed for my liking. So I decided to do another one, like skipping a line and then fixing the ruffle. So I skip a line here and then fix on the next line. So I like how it's looking compared to this one that I followed each line. Is looking too packed and I don't like the results of this first one. So I'm going to be removing one, like just skip one line, sew on one line, skip the next one. So I'll be removing this second stitch or ruffle. Now it's all done. I didn't even add to the last one. So what I did here is, so it basically is just like I did 2 inches on the line. So I've gone ahead to join the side, and here is how the sleeve is looking. Next we'll be attaching the sleeve to the blouse. And pin. Make sure the armhole, the same armhole matches. Be stitching along this part. So it is done. I'll be fixing the second sleeve and we're done. This is how it's looking. So if you find this video useful, please comment, like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Have a good day.